insider trading. When companies are able to do this, we call it Amazon. With that, I will be proving two things during my speech. One, why Amazon poses a unique harm to competition due to its conglomerate structure, and two, how regulating up changes its operations. But before that, when should governments intervene in the private market? We think that governments should break up companies when they acquire the breadth or depth to affect a national economy, when there's a potential harm to consumers that's disproportionate, when it can harm the ability of other companies to compete fairly. So how does Amazon currently operate? It consists of 5 major platforms: Amazon Web Services, its e-commerce platform, Amazon.com, the media, Amazon Prime, electronic services like Kindle and Alexa, and Amazon Logistics, which it uses to ship its own products and a few others. What's important to note is that when we are breaking up Amazon, we are focusing specifically on how the subsidiaries that I've just mentioned interact with one another, not the individual monopolies of the subsidiaries within the respective markets. Note that current antitrust laws and legislation are unable to deal with this interaction. Our model would split up the separate subsidiaries into their own individual companies with their own boards and executive teams. Individuals were not allowed to be crossed between the different companies, and there would be no data sharing between those respective subsidiaries. But what's the overarching context of tech in today's debate? There's a general pushback against big tech companies like Facebook and Apple and Instagram because of their anti-competitive practices and their complete misuse of data. Amazon poses a unique harm through these practices, but if other businesses pose this harm, we'd be happy to break them up too. For example, breaking up Facebook and Instagram as they were both. With that, let me move on to my first argument about how Amazon completely stifles competition through its conglomerate structure. So it does this through AWS, which is Amazon's subsidiary company of Amazon Web Services. It's a software that provides online cloud computing storage and makes up 52% of all the storage capacity on the internet. Essentially, this means that most companies have to use this platform. Not only that, Amazon has access to all of the data and information that companies provide on this platform. Amazon is the landlord of the internet, and everyone from Pinterest to Instagram to Spotify to Airbnb to the CIA and the State Department are their tenants. But they're not a neutral storage facility. Amazon uses other companies' data to create perfect information when selling their own products to benefit themselves. To put this in perspective, Amazon uses Amazon's data to sell Amazon's product on Amazon's platforms. So this creates harms in 3 major ways. First of all, the platform works to undercut other competitors. A majority of companies simply have to go through AWS, and even when they can compete with Amazon's perfect information, they have to fight against the platform itself. The platform of AWS preferences Amazon products through ads and recommendations. Not only that, the data from all of the company can be used to Amazon to see what's most popular and when, which means that they can change their prices in real time in order to maximize their profits. 2, they can steal successful business models. Amazon knows exactly how and why specific companies and products are successful through their data and algorithms. This is equivalent to insider trading or granting another company access to another company's private financial statements, and is unprecedented in any other part of the market other than Amazon. When they copy these successful elements, they sell the products on their own platforms. In fact, there is a 90% chance that a product sold on Amazon is likely to be copied by them within the first 2 weeks of it hitting the platform. Before I move on to my second point about how this mechanism is a preventative measure for Amazon's predatory market expansion, we'll take a POI or TSIC.
Will you break up all conglomerates because under your side of the house is saying that Amazon is dead because it uses a conglomerate structure?
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that the conglomerate structure is specifically bad because of AWS. Other conglomerate structures don't have access to other companies' data information like Amazon does. Other companies have to store their data on AWS in order to break into the market in the first place. There's no alternative for them. Amazon can steal their business models and do other harmful things. of stuff. Not only that, they're more than willing to do predatory pricing as a result of this type of stuff. They'll cut their losses in order to starve their competitors. An ideal example of this is diapers.com. When they refused to sell to Amazon, Amazon offered free diapers to parents for 3 months. They then offered a 30% discount, and they made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Information
in a few months. Diapers.com was bankrupt. This is currently ineffective with the current antitrust legislation for 2 reasons. One, it's completely centered around consumer welfare, which is something that Amazon doesn't really engage with. And 2, it's centered around how you're willing to cut your short-term gains for a long-term gain. But this simply doesn't happen with Amazon. Amazon is willing to bleed in one of its smaller subsidiaries but maximize overall profit because it's subsidized by larger subsidiaries like AWS, which has $17.4 billion in overall revenue. This gives them an unfair example. Thank you. So, why is this a preventative measure for predatory market expansion? Currently, Amazon can start a business, and if it fails, it can be subsidized by the more successful subsidiaries. Now, the business unit itself has to be successful within this new market. This is beneficial for 3 reasons. First of all, they can still get funding from investors, but only if investors believe that the individual business is likely to be successful. This already happens with businesses like Netflix and Google. They currently don't have very large profit margins, but investors believe in their ability to amass great returns, and as a result, they've invested billions of dollars. This poses a unique benefit because Amazon now has to earn the investment. They aren't granted by the whims of Jeff Bezos. 2, the business itself actually has to provide goods and services that consumers want. It can't be subsidized by the $17.4 billion of AWS. And finally, it needs better competition, something that can't be regulated with antitrust and the current models. It's easier to compete against individual business units, even if they're slightly monopolistic, as opposed to the mammoth of a conglomerate of the entirety of Amazon and its war chest of money. Conclusively, I've shown you that the conglomerate structure gives Amazon unfair capital leverage in their subsidiary companies so that they can penetrate new markets and completely dominate them and starve out their competitors. This is important because this accumulation of power and wealth for one executive is reaching a tipping point. United States legislators are calling Amazon the backbone of the United States economy. If they fail, it could cause a literal financial crisis. This means that Amazon is challenging the very perception of what a monopoly is. They own and control data. We should break them up, lest we become one of Amazon's very own subsidiaries.
I thank the first speaker for their speech. I now invite the first speaker of the opposition to deliver their speech.
Since its inception, Amazon has revolutionized the way we read, shop, and now the way we live. Do not let competition's fear-mongering stand against change for the better. What is policy on side opposition? We will not break up Amazon.com Inc. Rather, we stand for any punishment, for punishing any illegal actions that Amazon takes, just like with any other company that does not meet regulatory operating standards. For example, if Amazon flouts work safety regulations, we can impose punitive measures, but it does not justify an entire breakup. If it begins to predatory price, we can also have predatory pricing regulations. It does not justify an entire breakup. To clarify, this does not mean that we reject existing market regulations like antitrust laws. Only when a company uses its market power to harm consumer welfare would we then break it up. We will prove why Amazon has not fallen and will not fall into this group of companies. Note that in status quo, numerous antitrust investigations have been initiated against Amazon, and yet no government has taken action against it precisely because it does not harm consumer welfare. So when a proposition comes up to tell us that the be-all and end-all of antitrust legislation is competition, we don't think so. We think that competition is just one of the many means to ensure that consumer welfare is met. So at the end of the day, the ultimate end goal of antitrust legislation shouldn't be just stopping at competition, but consumer welfare. No, thank you. We think that proposition really begins on a back foot when they fail to answer basic questions that are core to this debate. Why can't you regulate the behaviors of Amazon? The examples that they give to us, for example, about predatory pricing, for example, can easily be regulated away. There's no reason why each individual problem cannot be targeted by existing legislation that already exists. The opposition's burden, no thank you, is to prove overwhelming majority and definite harms to consumers in order to justify the threshold for breaking up Amazon. I don't think they've proven that in first proposition. Moving on to my 2 points of rebuttals, no thank you, madam. First, on whether Amazon stifles competition, and second, on whether Amazon is dangerous as a future control of the economy. First, on their first argument on stifling competition, they tell us that Amazon preferences its own companies and its own ads because it has data on Amazon Web Services. My first question is once again, why can't you regulate that? If anything, in status quo, the EU already does impose regulations, so thank you, on the algorithm of Amazon. Amazon cannot use its algorithm to preference its own businesses under EU law. No thank you. It's already existing regulations that are sufficient. There's no unique reason why you should bring up Amazon. They then tell us that Amazon can steal existing business models and they parallel it to insider trading. I think this is a spurious analogy coming up from side proposition because it's just not true. Any other company can hire economic analysts to analyze other companies' business models for them. Is proposition going to ban all forms of economic analysts in status quo? I don't think so. If anything, we believe that the data that exists in Amazon Web Services is good for consumers because it allows Amazon to tailor services and make services so much better for consumers. They bring up the example of free diapers and they say, oh, Amazon will take short-term loss for long-term gains. But I don't think so. In my argument later, I will prove why Amazon will not want to maximize and inflate prices for long-term gains in the future. No thank you. Their second argument is on the danger of a company being able to affect a national economy. But I think that's just a very spurious claim coming up from side opposition. Look at Samsung, for example, that controls a huge part of South Korea's economy. But it's a good thing because it is able to propel South Korea's brand image into the rest of the world. There's no reason coming up from opposition why that is bad. My first argument will be clashing with their argument about competition, and it will explain how Amazon's competition forces it to lower prices for consumers, and thank you. My second argument shows how Amazon creates better goods for consumers with further innovation. My second speaker will argue how Amazon empowers smaller enterprises. First argument on how Amazon lowers prices for consumers. Hold on a moment, sir. And in this argument, I will continue to clash with their claim that Amazon does not face any competition in status quo. But before I move on, yes.
Predatory pricing gives consumers cheaper prices in the short term. That's good for them. Why would you still ban it out with antitrust regulations on your side?
Thank you, sir. I think that predatory pricing is uniquely bad when the government is able to evaluate that the company has a propensity to raise prices in the long term. My argument here will directly clash with that and prove to you why Amazon cannot inflate prices in the long term. Premise: Amazon faces intense competition both in physical retail and in e-commerce. Despite Amazon's existence, brick and mortar stores still flourish for 2 reasons. First, because there are existing large retail chains with sufficient capital to compete against Amazon. Walmart and Target, for example, have a large enough market share in the retail industry to compete. Recently, Walmart rolled out free one-day shipping in response to Amazon Prime. To compete, Amazon is forced to keep prices equal to or below existing retailers in the long run. Second reason why physical retailers will still exist. Because local mom and pop stores, no thank you, or convenience stores have low startup costs and can easily pop up again in the future if Amazon would ever want to inflate prices. Online, Amazon systemically faces competition because setting up e-commerce sites has even lower upfront costs. Multiple large e-commerce sites like Taobao and Zalora, for example, exist against competition against Amazon. No thank you. So in their argument, when they tell us that companies have no choice but to plug in onto AWS and list their businesses there, I don't think that's true. There's so many other alternative e-commerce sites that they can choose from. That's just a false claim. My argument up to this point proves that Amazon is not a monopoly and not anti-competitive because there does exist competition against it, pushing it to keep prices competitively low. On our side, the comparative is better because choosing not not to break up Amazon allows cheap goods to be bought by consumers. Because only when Amazon has its scale does it have the ability to cross-subsidize industries that are less profitable due to sustainable alternative sources like Amazon Web Services that they want to talk about. Amazon Services alone brought in over half of Amazon's profit, which it then uses to subsidize industries that have smaller profit margins. It can then afford to charge consumers a lower price. This is so important because lower prices benefits consumers of all income levels. Cheaper goods means more people can buy more and benefit more from a higher standard of living. This is only possible because of Amazon's incentive and ability. No, thank you. This argument proves that Amazon does benefit consumers now, and in the long run, it does not meet the threshold for a breakup. Second argument on how Amazon furthers innovation. And the thesis of this argument is that the size of Amazon, allows for future innovation that benefits consumers even further. Before I move on, yes.
Their mechanism relies on competition still existing to protect consumers. Note to the point at which Amazon is able to completely take out Walmart, you don't get that competition anymore.
Thank you, sir. I think it's just a false claim that Amazon is able to take out Walmart. I'll give you an example of how Walmart is already responding to the methods that Amazon is taking to try to compete. I don't think that Walmart is going to leave the American market anytime soon, considering that it's so huge in the physical retail industry. We need to prove these structural reasons why huge retailers like Walmart will leave. No response and no logic from first proposition. Back to my argument. The crucial question to ask is why Amazon would want to innovate rather than stay stagnant. Amazon needs to innovate to increase profits. Because in my first argument, I told you that Amazon cannot inflate prices or raise the cost. So the only way left for Amazon to increase profits is to reduce costs. Therefore, it is pushed to innovate more to produce its goods with better efficiency. Innovation is beneficial for consumers because it allows them to benefit from superior goods and services. Amazon's research and innovation into drones, for example, vastly increases the range of online retail, especially for essential supplies for people in food deserts or rural communities where physical retailers might not exist and they might need to go further to get physical groceries. In a world in which Amazon is broken up, no company on site proposition has the scale required to provide food delivered to the doorstep free of charge for people in rural communities and food deserts. We believe on our side that Amazon is unique in its ability to cater to consumer welfare. Proud to oppose.
Here. I thank the first opposition for their speech. Now I invite the second speaker of the proposition to deliver their speech.
The United States of Amazon is a corrupt and autocratic state, only accountable to its shareholders and its own desires, with a market capitalization that is 3 times the GDP of the country that we represent today. Singapore is fine with justifying that because of how many people will get discounts on laptop stands. That in and of itself is shameful. Before anything, I want to have a chat about the strategy of the debate thus far and why they've made massive concessions and are in danger. After that, I'm going to be answering 2 questions and responses. What is the unique harm of the conglomeration structure? And secondly, what is the result of the breakout? Let's be very clear under strategy. You have to value in this debate a team that gives you a policy that is unique and inherent to Amazon specifically. Not airy-fairy things like regulation or absolute principles like predatory pricing and other such things. Now the reason that our model is the most specific to this is because we focus exclusively on that conglomerate structure. Note, we're not trying to overcome extreme monopolies. That can be a goal later. We're not trying to completely eradicate Amazon or destroy it. We merely want to break up the flow between its subsidiaries such that it can't have access to perfect data and such that it can't harm businesses already. On that margin then, that's incredibly harmful in terms of strategy because what you can conclude from this is that we can achieve everything that they want to achieve with the added benefit of overcoming the harms of Amazon subsidiaries abusing those that use their services. But secondly, their case right now relies on us destroying Amazon effectively and taking it out of the market to to the point that it can't go into local communities and benefit consumers, something which they never actually said inherent to the breakup as to why that will result in that happening. But finally, importantly, what this does is that it entirely eradicates their argument about consumers. Because those consumers, no thank you, those consumers can still benefit, firstly. But secondly, we were very clear that consumers aren't the only metric by which we rate our companies. It's consumers, businesses, and of course the state, which I'm going to be proving in my substantive. Those three have to have a nuanced and intricate analysis between them, not just consumer welfare. And that's a fundamentally important thing, because we're at a tipping point right now where consumers have been the only thing prioritized, where we've let this monopoly just exist because of cheap pricing. But final thing under the strategy is that this idea that we'll just punish them and regulate them out. We were fundamentally clear from the beginning that that's just not possible. Imagine a company with a constant finger on the pulse of its competitors. Not only that, but a company that has twisted the arm of the state because of its conglomerate structure, such that it doesn't look like it runs losses when it actually does. While retail lost $2 billion a quarter, they made it look like it made an $11 billion profit because of the fact that they cross-subsidize the thing that they concede to in their model. Because, however, that they're conceding to the idea of regulation, we are winning on that already. They're perfectly fine with one, regulating predatory pricing and undermining the consumer. That's a direct contradiction to their saying that consumer welfare is the primary metric by which we ought to evaluate this. The conclusion from all the strategic work here is that they're not in the debate at the point at which they say, we'll just regulate it to help those people. Because they've simply ignored the unique harms of that conglomerate structure. Which brings me to my argument on what are the unique harms of that conglomerate structure. Here, no thank you. Here, they say that the harms are not that significant because they create consumer welfare. There's an implicit premise here that they're ignoring, that consumer welfare is on the basis of price. That in and of itself is not true. Their own analysis speaks to the fact that people don't like Amazon because it's cheap. They like it because it's convenient and that it will deliver to their door. But secondly, note that the predatory pricing isn't just because Amazon has massive, isn't just because of Amazon's massive structure, but it's also something that they're just doing. But it's also something that they're just doing for the purpose of convenience. That means that the prices won't necessarily drastically go up at the point at which we break them up. There is a constant business way up that corporates always have to do in terms of profit and pricing. To say that they're not going to be able to make a profit and still provide relatively good value to consumers is absurd. Note how marginal their benefit is. That if your laptop goes up by $10, ultimately that means that all the harms to those businesses is irrelevant. That's insane strategy, right? Because even if these consumers are harmed, we tell you very clearly that that's not proportional to what we're talking about in the debate. The debate is very much about the people that are co-opted by Amazon and that are harmed. This is not the metric that we should use, nor is it the primary thing within the debate. I'm just spending time on it because that's all that they want to talk about. That's all that they say in terms of consumer welfare being the be-all and end-all. Second question on the idea, I'll take you in a second, the idea of Amazon being able to exist in a competitive market. They merely flippantly say here that there is competition. Note one, that the competition is extremely minimal because of how unique the market infrastructure is. The market infrastructure of delivering to rural communities, for example. Secondly, it's not so much about that there are competitors, it's about the infrastructure that makes these startup costs so cheap. Amazon Web Services makes that so cheap. It's insane to say that it's not a monopoly. Imagine for a second, a landlord that owns 51% of the land in the world. That's what Jeff Bezos does with the cloud. And the companies may exist there to compete with him, but they're still using his background. To say that there's no competition is fundamentally wrong. But what do we give you under this unique harm? We say that it's like having perfect access to any type of information because it throws that information in and out of its company. Their only response is to say that that's not true and that ultimately all companies have economic analysis. This isn't analysis, it's theft of data. That response is completely inefficient. At the end of this question, the unique harm of the conglomerate structure is so severe and so pervasive that it ought not be sacrificed merely for consumer discounts, please.
Your first speaker says Amazon is able to dominate unprofitable industries because of cross-subsidizing. You say that Amazon can still survive on your side even if you break it up and remove its ability to cross-subsidize. Please resolve this contradiction.
Yeah, so cross-subsidization is not the only way to succeed in the business world, right? If we break up such a massive company, I'm quite sure that the successors of them will still be able to exist. That's why we're eliminating that central backbone, because that central backbone of the cross-subsidization and of the data control is what's crippling local businesses. Second question, what are the effects of the breakup? Here, they just say innovation. They don't even respond to our thing in terms of how you change funding mechanisms. Innovation is simply not true because they don't innovate and create new tech. They just absorb tech into to what they want to create with that tech. For example, they take AI that's supposed to be for body scanning and health and make that into how you can best predict the idea of what an outfit will look like. At the end of these responses, it is abundantly clear that they're not within the debate thus far. The harms here that we're trying to achieve are very unique to this policy, and they would want to do that anyway. My substantive will prove why the state has a mandate to overcome the massive structure of Amazon. Let's understand why it is so pervasive and why it is so aggressive. Firstly, size. It's the largest company in the world at the moment with a market cap of $3 billion and revenues of $11.2 billion. Secondly, diversity. 51% of the cloud and so many different markets that it accesses. But what that means is that they have unique power to harm the state in the way that it functions. Note that this clash can win the debate alone because there's an obligation to prevent that happening. Why? One, it impacts monetary policy. Some things are natural and need to happen, like inflationary mechanisms when there's low unemployment. Amazon accounts for 48 cents of every dollar on an online market. At that point, they can deflate the currency when it's fundamentally important that it inflates. But secondly, is that they can dictate the national agenda. Bernie Sanders recently passed the Bezos Act because the question was not about whether or not workers' wages should be protected in general. The question was, how do we best overcome Amazon? Look, in the same way that we ban campaign funding and campaign spending because no corporate should have such an overwhelming influence in politics, we have to overcome Amazon in the same way. Jeff Bezos wanted to call his company relentless at the beginning. I think it's high time that we be relentless back.
Here, I thank the second proposition for their speech, and I will invite the second opposition to deliver their speech.
Two questions flood my mind when I listen to the speakers before me. One, why? Two, so what? Why? Because I'm not sure why their policy is unique. They give us many reasons why Amazon is generically bad. But if they're going to say in the next speaker that they're not going to break up all conglomerates, I suggest that that's a massive tension in their case. Because by their logic, conglomerates have many of the similar issues that they mentioned in their case. But more crucially than that, my question becomes, so what? Because competition is not a good in and of itself. Competition is there because it ought to benefit consumers. Competition exists so that individuals will be able to live the best lives possible. I think it's probably a bad sign when they respond to Matthew's 6 minutes of analysis as to why Amazon does not have the incentive to raise prices, but continues to have the incentive to help people with it's not part of the debate. I think it very much is, because in food deserts across the United States, people don't get access to groceries and food. In places around the world, people are unable to get the goods and services that they need. I don't think just poo-pooing the NSP by saying it's a laptop stand is glib and fundamentally unresponsive to our case. And I think the reason as to why they spent about 1 minute on their second speaker substantive was because they knew it didn't win them the debate, because all of it was hung on all of their previous analysis. Two questions in this speech. First of all, is this the best instrument to solve Amazon's problems? And second, how do we help consumer welfare? First, is a breakup the best instrument to solve Amazon's problems? No one denies that Amazon has problems. The question is how we ought to solve them. And we believe that in order for us to understand why this is a bad measure, we need to understand the scale that a breakup would cost. The breakup would be absolutely massive. There would be billions of dollars of shareholder money literally going down the drain. People and business models that Amazon are subsidizing, not because it's profitable, but because it's important in the long run, would just wither away and die on their side of the house. So all of this is important because breaking up is a very blunt, and as they said, because Amazon is so important to the economy, might actually lead to massive problems in the long run for economic harms. So breaking up a company is a massive problem, and they need to give us overwhelming reasons as to why they need to justify such a bad policy. So this raises a question: what are Amazon's problems? The main response that they got from all of this was Amazon is able to cross-subsidize using perfect information. To be honest, that actually sounds pretty good to me. If Amazon is able to be efficient by, for example, being able to give as much data to as many people as possible, such that they will be able to give products to people, I think it's a pretty good thing on their side of the house, because they haven't proven to me any reason why you have the right to be in business in the first place, especially considering the purpose of a business is order to help as many people in the first place. And I think that there are significant reasons as to why regulation is important and able to happen. For example, across the aisle, the regulation of Amazon has been very, very politically strong. From Elizabeth Warren to Donald Trump, the Republican Party in the United States is skeptical of tech companies, while the left-wing Democratic Party is skeptical of MNCs. So to be clear, there is a very strong incentive to regulate Amazon, and they give you multiple examples to prove this. I'm not clear as to why this is the only reason or the only mechanism that exists on their side of the house. But I think importantly, getting regulation that actually solves the current issues is more sustainable than just breaking up a company. Because as they said, by not solving inherent trust problems on their side of the house, they actually allow Amazon and other companies to grow bigger and bigger as they go on. Rather, I think it's important that we change the regulation that currently exists to help other companies in the long run. So I think at the end of all of these arguments, they haven't even proven to us why this is an exclusive mechanism. Second question then, why breaking up Amazon harms consumer welfare? But before that, please.
Regulating predatory pricing is about short-term losses for long-term gains. Amazon doesn't incur these short-term losses because of the subsidization of its subsidiaries. You can't regulate predatory pricing with raw antitrust rules. Our mechanism is inherent.
I understand. We can change antitrust laws on our side of the house. I think if you are able to know such statistics, so will the State Department, and they will solve them as well on our side of the house. So second, why bring up Amazon harms consumer welfare? They were remarkably clear with Matthew's analysis. Matthew was really clear. He explained to you why Amazon, because it's able to cross-subsidize, is able to put food and money on businesses that otherwise would be unprofitable, giving money to billions of people around the world and resources. They say Amazon is a monopoly, but I don't think it responds to Matthew's analysis about why it's not. Because many companies have unique ways in which they compete. Walmart, for example, does this, for example, by buying in bulk. This is one way that Walmart competes against Amazon, and Walmart recently got an incredibly high growth rate in the past year. In fact, its highest ever. In fact, foreign competitors into the market might also push Amazon out of this. So, for example, Taobao from China might also compete with Amazon to ensure that it's at its most powerful. I really don't respond to all of this analysis, and also explains why even if Amazon continues to make things cheaper, why that's necessarily a bad thing, because they will have to continue to keep these prices low because of the fact that they need to constantly compete with all of these actors. And then that means that given that they haven't rebutted any of these claims, that very nicely means that all of Matthew's material about how people will be able to get things that they fundamentally need, or how innovation in areas and sectors are important and fundamental to individuals, all occurs on our side of the house. They cannot say that this is unimportant because they themselves acknowledge that Amazon is able to revolutionize the economy in ways that help us better all of our lives. This very nicely brings me to my team's third and final argument about how Amazon empowers small businesses. This argument takes proposition at their best case. It explains why we have more economy and businesses. And take note, as Matthew says, as the EU has done, we're able to regulate Amazon to protect small businesses by making sure that their algorithms don't double themselves. The thesis of this argument is that Amazon's platform is one that allows businesses to succeed in the current economic climate. The first premise is that Amazon has an incentive to help small businesses. Amazon has an incentive to build its platform as a common marketplace for goods. It has the incentive to therefore get as many goods as possible on its platform. And this diversity of choices, it want to attract people to the platform in the first place, which is good for the company in the first place. It therefore wants as many goods as possible on the platform, and new suppliers add to the competition to other suppliers on the side, keeping prices low. And also because SMEs make up about half of the products sold on Amazon, they need SMEs on the ground as well. But more crucially, it's just highly inefficient for Amazon to literally buy every single company because of the fact that if they're so large, the returns on investment on buying really small specific things will be incredibly low for them. So I think they will want to let Amazon continue. Amazon will want to let small, medium enterprises continue. So the second premise then is Amazon actively helps small businesses. This is done in three key ways. The first is it increases the customer base. So thank you, Mary. Many small businesses only have a limited reach due to their small size and single storefronts. Areas around them might not demand for the goods that are required. However, Amazon gives them access to millions of people around the world. Second, it gives them crucial infrastructure to cut costs because serving as a sufficient storefront which reaches hundreds of millions of people, this means that they're allowing small and medium enterprises to exist as completely virtual entities. The third is that it gives useful tools. So remember all the data that they were moaning about? I suggest that this actually helps these people because recently Amazon released over 50 tools to small businesses on its platform, giving them access to data analytics such as popular search terms and comparable products, along with other tools to help them manage their businesses in the most sustainable and profitable manner. Making sense of analytics is important to small businesses because it allows them to stock fast-selling items and market to the right audience. This is why 68% of those who are on Amazon believe that Amazon has successfully benefited their business. Why is this argument so important? The reason why is because this argument explains why we increase competition and why we reduce unemployment, allowing people to compete with MNCs on their side of the house that, according to their rhetoric, they don't particularly like because they're able to compete across the country with economies of scale much in the same way as these MNCs. So this argument takes them on their best case, explain to you why they're so wrong. We believe that Amazon is unique in its ability to cater to consumer welfare. Very proud to oppose.